All right, let's talk about one of the weirdest puzzles in all of modern movies. We're going to dive into a franchise that has made more money than you can possibly imagine, but for some reason, it just seems to completely vanish from our minds the second we walk out of the theater. This is the fascinating Avatar paradox.
The best way to think about it is like this. Some movies are basically fast food. It's a gigantic global industry and millions of people consume it every single day. And look, it absolutely hits the spot in the moment, right? But then it's just gone. It's a huge part of the economy for sure, but it doesn't leave you with any real lasting cultural nutrition. Well, it turns out some movies work on that exact same principle.
And when it comes to cinematic fast food, there is absolutely no question who the king is. The Avatar franchise. I mean, just look at that number. The first movie alone has pulled in over $4 billion when you adjust for inflation. The sequel is already the third highest grossing film of all time. We are talking about an unbelievable, truly monumental level of financial success.
But that's where things get so strange. For a series this insanely successful, there's this weird silence that follows it. You don't really see a whole lot of hype for the next one, there aren't passionate debates raging online, and it just begs the question, right? How can something so massive leave behind such a tiny mark on our culture?
So this bizarre disconnect, this gap between making tons of money and having zero cultural impact, that's what we're going to unpack today. And honestly, it is so perfectly captured by this one franchise that we're just going to call it what it is, the Avatar paradox.
So here it is, plain and simple. The Avatar paradox is what happens when a movie or a show makes an absolute mountain of cash, but it just fails to stick. It doesn't become part of our inside jokes, our memes, or the stories we share with each other. And really, the Avatar movies are probably the biggest, most extreme example of this you could ever find.
Let's just do a quick thought experiment. I want you to think of heroes like Luke Skywalker or Indiana Jones. Their face, their personality, their famous lines, it all just pops right into your head, doesn't it? Same thing for villains. You say Darth Vader or the Terminator, and they are instant legends. Okay, now try to do the same thing for Jake Sully. Or the villain, Miles Quaritch. It's a lot tougher, isn't it? They just don't have that iconic staying power. And the evidence for this cultural black hole is just everywhere you look. I mean, Pandora is this huge, detailed world. So where are all the YouTube videos with the crazy fan theories? Where are the arguments about the lore? Is anyone really buzzing about which characters are coming back? Seriously, can you name one single quote from either of these movies that people use in everyday life? For a franchise this huge, the silence is deafening.
So, the big question is, why? Why does this happen? Well, the very first piece of the puzzle is what the movies focus on, and that is a relentless, overwhelming focus on spectacle over substance. It's all about what you see on the screen, not what you feel in your gut.
And honestly, this quote just nails it. You can create something that is absolutely breathtaking to look at, a technical marvel, but if there's no real story or characters to latch onto, that initial wow factor just evaporates. It's kind of like a firework, you know? It's dazzling for a second, and then it's just gone. Nothing but smoke.
Let's just rewind for a second. Back in 2009, seeing Avatar was a genuine event. I mean, nothing else looked like it. The 3D and the CGI were totally revolutionary. But then, the 2010s happened. The superhero explosion made these massive CGI fests the new normal. And now, as we head toward 2025, audiences are just kind of tired. We've seen it all. We're totally maxed out on pure spectacle.
And that right there is the heart of the problem. The visual magic, the secret sauce that made the first film an absolute must-see experience, it isn't special anymore. The Avatar movies, they still look amazing, don't get me wrong. But now they're just one of many, many other visually stunning blockbusters. The novelty, that special thing it had, is completely gone.
Which brings us to what I think is the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. If the pretty pictures aren't enough to make a movie stick in your memory, then what's left? Well, this is where we find that big, empty hole right at the center of the franchise.
And what's so ironic, what's so wild, is that you can see the difference just by looking at the director's own earlier movies. Think about films like Aliens or Terminator 2. The incredible, groundbreaking special effects in those films were built around a really powerful human story. You cared so much about Ripley's desperate need to save Newt or Sarah Connor's fight to protect her son. That was the foundation. But in Avatar, it feels like the emotional story is an afterthought. It feels like it was just bolted on to give the spectacle a reason to exist.
And when you do that, your characters stop feeling like real people. They feel more like templates, like you're just checking boxes. You've got Jake, the soldier who suddenly grows a conscience. You've got Neytiri, the noble native who teaches the outsider her people's ways. Come on, we've all seen these characters 1,000 times before. Their relationship moves the plot forward, yeah, but it doesn't have that unique spark, that messy drama that makes us actually care about them. And that breaks the #1 rule of storytelling. It's really that simple. If you, the audience, aren't invested in the people at the heart of the conflict, then it doesn't matter how big the explosions are. The most spectacular battle for the fate of an entire planet just loses all its tension. We might be impressed, but we don't really feel anything. We don't really care who wins.
So when you put it all together, the spectacle that's not special anymore, and an emotional core that was never really there to begin with, what are you left with? What kind of legacy, what kind of footprint has this multi-billion-dollar franchise actually left behind?
The answer is, it doesn't leave a footprint at all. A footprint is permanent. It shows you were there. Avatar is more like a cultural smokescreen. It's massive, it's overpowering, it blocks out everything else for a little while, and then the wind shifts, and poof, it's just gone. Not a single trace left behind.
So there you have it. You could almost call it the recipe for the Avatar paradox. Step 1, make sure the visual effects are the real stars of the show, not the people. Step 2, bet your entire movie on a cool new technology that, will eventually just become normal. And step 3, fill your beautiful world with character templates instead of unique, memorable people. And all of this leaves us with one last really interesting question to chew on. In this new age of cinematic fast food, what even is success? Is it just about how many billions of dollars you can make on opening weekend? Or is it something more? Is it about the stories and the characters that actually stick with us, the ones we're still talking about years later? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.